here at Cloud Sherpas, and I'm going to take you through your guys' Google Mail and through your Google Calendar for the next hour to hour and a half. So I understand this is some of your guys' brand new experience. You just had been moved over to Google Apps, so we'll make sure we go through everything that we can in the hour and a half that we've got. So I'm going to share my screen real quick and give you a quick overview of what we plan to talk about. And we want to focus on what's going to be new and different for you in your Gmail. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. From what I heard, you guys are moving from a group-wise environment. So we'll definitely focus on a lot of the different things that you're going to see in your inbox. We'll show you a few different things like snippets in the preview pane. We'll talk about conversations, ways to organize your mailbox like stars, labels, using your archive and your all mail. We'll show you how to search. We'll show you how to compose mail. We'll talk about different settings. Disregard the chat because I know chat's not going to be enabled for you guys. We'll talk about some of the different settings as well in your Gmail inbox. After that, we'll go into the calendar. Again, we'll focus on what's new and different for you in that. We'll show you the 5 different calendar views that everyone has. We'll show you the 3 different ways you can create an event, which is the click and type, the quick add, as well as just the create event button. Once you're creating an event, we'll show you how you can work with different guest settings, how to make attendees optional, how to book a room or a resource, how to find time so you know everyone's available, how to work with your privacy options, all that sort of stuff. We'll show you how to view and access other people's calendars, and then we'll also touch on the different settings in your calendar as well. Okay? We're definitely going to hit labs in your calendar and in your inbox. If people have heard a little bit about labs potentially before coming on Gmail, we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about labs. So we like to just describe what labs are before we go into them. Labs are a lot like apps on your phone is how I like to describe them. So just like you can go into your app store on your smartphone, download an app, it's going to give you additional features that you're then able to use on your phone, whether it's mobile banking or some sort of chat feature. That's the same way a lab is. You can go into your labs, you can enable these different labs, and they just give you additional features that you can use with your Gmail. So when we're in our inbox, we'll talk about these different labs over here. These are the ones we recommend. And when we go into calendar, we'll talk about these ones as well. Okay? Now, if you don't remember everything, don't worry. I'm going to show you where you can go at the end of training to get additional help beyond this for additional information as well. Okay? So if you don't have any additional questions, if you do have a question, though, feel free just to send it to me right there in the question panel. I'll be more than happy to answer it for you. If not, we'll get started right away. I'm going to minimize the screen. So I'm currently already here in my inbox. Now, one of the coolest things about Gmail is that it is browser-based. You see, I'm here in a browser window, and I'm already logged into my email. Now, if I was to sign out, just for instance, to tell you here, I could always just go to www.gmail.com from any web browser, from a phone, from a tablet, from a computer. It's going to send me to this login screen, and all I got to do is put in my username, put in my password. Now I'm logged into my email. You can get it anywhere. So this is what your inbox may look like for the first time you're in your Gmail. Obviously, it's probably going to look a lot different from people that are coming from a group-wise environment. The first thing I want to show you is just a few different ways you can look at your email. So the first way is what we call snippets. Everyone should have snippets enabled when they first get on Gmail, and you can always turn this setting off if you don't like it. But snippets are just these little lines of text where I'm pointing to the right of every subject. So you see every subject, like all the unread subjects up here are in bold, and then there's a little grayed out snippet to the right of it. It just gives you a little preview of what that last message in the conversation was. Okay? Now the next 2 features are actually labs. So like I said, labs are things you have to enable before you can actually use them. And I'm going to show you 2 different labs right now, and I'll show you later where you can go to enable them. The first one is called Message Sneak Peek. I can hover over a message like this and right-click on it, and you'll see I get a little sneak peek of that message in the new window. I can't do anything like reply. I could delete this message or archive it. I couldn't reply from this view, but it just gives you an additional way to kind of look at the message without having to open it. Again, this is a lab, so you have to enable it before you can actually use it first. Okay? And now the other way is with the preview pane. So I have this icon up here where I'm pointing in the top right corner of my screen. And again, the preview pane is also a lab, so you have to enable it before you see this icon. But once you enable the lab, this icon will appear. And you notice now I can do a split, have messages come in here on the left. All my messages will still be in my inbox on the left, and then I click a message and it will show it opened over here on the right. Okay? I can also, if I want to, click on this drop down and do a horizontal split if I wish. And that's what the horizontal split would look like. Or you can just keep it off. However your preferences are, if you like any of those additional features, you just have to go into your settings gear up here, go to where it says settings, and then you'll go to labs. And we're going to go there later, so that's just showing you real quick where you go to enable those different labs. Does anyone have questions on those 3 different features? Okay, good. Let's talk about conversation threads next then. So, you see a lot of these numbers in parentheses throughout my inbox. I got a 3 here, 14, down below 7, 14, 5, 10. So what those numbers in parentheses means is that this message is actually a conversation. So it's not just a single message. For instance, this one, Scotland in September, it has a 10 in parentheses. This means that there has been 10 replies to this message. Now, instead of having 10 replies throughout my inbox, they're all threaded together in what Google calls a conversation thread. So if I open this up, for instance, you'll see there's 10 messages in here, 10 replies, and all of them are threaded together into this single item right down here at the bottom of my inbox. So you're not going to have separate replies throughout your inbox. You're going to have one threaded conversation. Okay? So these ones down at the bottom are all examples of something that has been completely read. Like this, for instance, again, Scotland, September. Lynn was the person who originated this message. We can see because Lynn's the first person listed. People like Aaron have replied. Nicholas was the last person to reply since he's the last name here. And everything is grayed out, so that means it's been completely read. If we come up here, for instance, to this message that's called thank you, Shell started this message. Again, Aaron replied. Nicholas was the last person to reply. And then this is a completely unread conversation because everyone's name is in bold, including the subject, and everyone's name is bolded out. Okay? Above that, another example is something that's partially read. We can tell that because Mike, his name is not in bold. His name is just regular. So that means we've read Mike's conversation or his message, and we've read all of the replies up until Roby. From Roby all the way to Laura, who's the last person who has replied to this, we haven't read those messages. Okay? So to open that up as an example, you'll see here, Mike again originated this message. It was called Spring Break Getaways on February the 6th. All the older messages that we have already read and we have already seen are collapsed. And then everything that has been unread that we haven't seen is expanded, as you see here. Okay? So I have a question real quick. Let me see if I can answer this. Do I need to be on the phone if I can hear you through my computer? No, for Trina, I don't want to get your name wrong, but if you can hear me through your computer, you have no need to be on the phone. Some people just decide to dial in if they want to, use like maybe a headset through their phone or something like that. But if you can hear me through the computer, you're not missing out on anything. All right, so conversation thread. We have all these open replies. These are what Google considers unread at this point. And you'll notice each reply has its own options over here. I will, Trina. Thank you. So each reply has its own menu options. You'll notice this reply from Roby has the ability to reply right here. Underneath the drop-down, I can do a few other things. Reply to everyone, forward, print this particular message. And if I keep going down, each reply has its own action items, as you see here. So for example, I could take Aaron's here. Right now I'm replying to Aaron only into that message, so it's only going to show the history of her message and the ones above that. It's not going to show anything beyond that message. Okay? Now if I clicked on this drop-down, I can quickly reply all to reply to everyone that Aaron had replied to. Say something like thanks. Send it off. Now that message has been sent. So I should come down to the bottom and I should see my message. Down here is the most recent message sent. So yes, your replies are included in the conversation. So down here, mine is at the bottom. It's the most recent 0 minutes ago. It's always chronologically ordered. Most recent will be at the bottom and you cannot change that order. Okay? If I come back out, you'll notice me as the last person now to reply. Numbers change from 14 to 15 as far as how many replies there have been in this conversation. And now Google has considered it completely read. It's grayed out now. Okay? I can open it back up. You'll notice all the messages are now collapsed. I can always click here where it says to show older messages. You'll notice it will open it back up, and then I can click on a message again to get its individual menu options. The reason we like to show that is because you have these individual message options for each individual message, and then you have these icons out here on the top of your screen on the outside of the message. So what the differences between those are, basically you have these menu options in here, and these pertain to the particular messages that they're part of. So for Lynn, this message here, if I wanted to reply to this message, I could. If I wanted to print just this message, delete just this message, show the original, all these things apply to this particular message. If I wanted to do something for the entire conversation for all of the messages, I would come up here and use the icons on the top of the screen. Up here, you have the ability to print all the messages. Underneath more, I could forward the entire conversation. I could also delete the entire thing with the trash can up here at the top. Okay? So menu options on the outside pertain to the entire conversation. These menu icons on the inside pertain to the particular message that they're part of. Anyone have questions on a conversation thread and how they work? Another cool feature, if I am in Roby's message right here, I want to mark it unread from a certain point. I can go to where Roby's message is, open it up. Underneath the drop-down, you'll see an option to mark unread from that point. Click on that. Now you notice it shoots me back out into the inbox. And now, as you see, it's bolded from Roby on, so it's unread from her. The next time I open it, everything from Roby on down is going to be expanded again. So it's a good way to bookmark yourself if you have to leave or go to a different message. You can just always click Mark Unread from that point. Okay? Any questions? Conversation threads? All right, moving along then. So let's talk about organizing your inbox then. There's a few different best practices that we offer, and there's basically 3 simple ways that you can organize your mailbox. So the first way that you can use is with your stars. So I have my stars here. You see every message has the ability to put a star on it if I want to. All I have to do is hover over the message that I want to star and go to that star, left click, and you'll see a star appears. Okay, I can left click again and it disappears. Now I have many different stars enabled, so you can see I can keep left clicking and I have a couple different stars show up. And I can show you where you can get different stars so you can use different ones, for your inbox. But stars are just basically a way to attach significance to a message. I star something here. I'm always going to be able to find it over here in the starred system label. And there's other ways you can also organize your mailbox so, everything that you star goes to a particular pane in your inbox. I can show you that later. Okay? Now the next way, these things to the right of stars, these are called important markers. So I can hover over these 2 that have an important marker on it, and it gives you a little description of why it's been marked as important. But basically, you can start to train Google what you deem important and what you deem not important. So I can start marking these messages from David as important, and Google's going to remember that, and it's going to automatically start always marking any message from David Barrett as important for me. So it's just kind of a way to train Google on things that you deem important and what you deem not important. You can just select and deselect anything that you want. Okay? Again, anything you mark as important, you will find in this important system. And the third way and the most common way people will use to organize stuff is with their folders. So you see I have my custom created folders over here on the left-hand side of my screen. Okay? I also have custom colors for each one. I can show you how to do that. But first, let me show you different ways you can put stuff in your labels. I think I called them folders. I apologize. They are called labels in Gmail, not folders. They're much like folders, but Gmail calls them labels for a few different reasons. I'll show you why. So I could take this message here, and just like you had a folder structure, you could always drag and drop a message into a specific folder that you wanted. You can do the same thing in Gmail. You can also drag a label this way in Gmail, as you see. And I can actually put multiple labels on a message. That's why they call it a label, because something, is only in one folder, but with labels, you can put multiple labels on something, as you see I can do here. Let's see, Kate has a question. She says, can I mark a message important without making everything from that sender get marked? Yeah, Kate, no, because Google's kind of remember that for you. So instead of marking something, instead of using the important marker, I would use the star instead if you want something important from, just if you want to mark a message as important from that person just at one particular time, I would use your stars instead. I use the I for stuff that I deem important. Yeah. To be honest, I do not use important markers too much. I kind of fell behind. If you guys want to see what I mean by that, I pull over my inbox from work here. I never kept up with my important markers, so you see everything in my inbox has an important marker on it. So that's what happens if you don't keep up with it. Google just starts marking everything as important, basically. So everything for me has an important marker on it, so I don't use that much. But as you can see, I use my starred stuff. All my stars go into my special starred panel right here. And I can show you how to, you can organize that later. Let's get back to labels, though. All right, so we got our labels. I dragged and dropped labels that way. I can also select the message. You'll notice there's no icons up here at the top currently. If I select the message, though, you'll see a few new icons appear. So this is the move to. I can move this message to a specific label. It'll move it out of the inbox to that label. I could also use the label as. You'll notice the 2 labels that are already on it are checked. I could check additional ones, click apply, and all those will be put on it. Okay? So that message now can be found in all those different places. If I went to cruise, I'd find it. If I went to deals, if I went to follow-up, I'd find it in all those places. It's not a duplicate message, though, so if you delete it from one place, it's going to be deleted from all those places. You need to be careful about that. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, okay? So we got our message here. It's got all the labels on it. Now, if you ever need to create a new label, I would just come down here where it says More, click on More, and you'll see the ability to create new labels. Okay? From there, all you got to do is give it a name. Click on Create. There you go. You got your newly created label up here. Now, it shows up at the top of the screen for me. It's actually alphabetically organized, so if you gave it a different name, it might show up lower than where it is, for me. Now, each label has a custom drop-down to the right of it. As you see here, there's a little drop-down I can click on. I can give my label a specific color, just like I gave all my other labels colors. So I'll give it black. And anything that comes in and I give it that label will be associated with black. I can also go in the drop-down. I can edit this label, which would change, the name of it if I wanted to give it a different name. I could remove the label, which would delete it, and I can also add a sub-label. So you can create sub-sub labels, you can create sub-labels, you can go very deep in your label folder hierarchy. If you had a large folder hierarchy, in your group wise, you can do the same thing in Gmail. So there's my nested folder or label client A, which is nested inside CCSD. Okay. Now also, which is important underneath this drop-down is showing in label list and hiding in label list. So right now it's clicked to being shown in the label list. Notice what happens though if I click on hide. CCSD is no longer in my view. It didn't delete it. Where it goes is underneath more. So if I click on more, you'll notice CCSD is down here now. Again, I can click on the drop down and show it and it'll go back up to the top. Now the reason we show that is because you guys just went live recently and you may notice a couple of your system labels that I have up here, like your all mail, your spam, and your trash, are down here below more. They're not up here at the top like mine are. Now I find that, kind of a nuisance. I think it's more useful to put those system labels up here at the top of your screen. So to do that, what you need to do is come down here to More, go to where it says Manage Labels. It'll take you into your label management, and like I said, you guys will probably see all mail, spam, trash, and even chats hidden. So it'll be hidden from view like this. You'd have to come down here to More to see them underneath here. It's my recommendation, and most people from Google recommend as well, showing these labels instead. So just click to show them. You'll notice they all come up here to the top now. These are labels that you use on a consistent basis. These are the ones that Google provides for you. So it's a good idea to have them up here at the top. Okay? Below that, you'll have all of your custom created labels. Again, you can show or hide any of those if you wish as well. It's not deleting them, it's just hiding them from view. If you hide them from view, you just come down here to More and you'll see them there. Okay? I could always hover over the name of a label too. I could edit it here, give it a different name. If I add a number or a character to the beginning too, you'll notice if I want deals up at the top of my screen, I can just add a character at the beginning. And it's going to push deals up to the top now. So you see now deals is at the top of my view. So that's how you can get something up to the top if it starts, with a letter that's towards the end of the alphabet. Okay? Going back to my inbox. I showed you guys you can drag and drop labels this way as well. Does anyone have questions about labels, about using your stars or your important markers? Okay, good. All right, let's move on to then cleaning up your inbox. So, a lot of people will ask me, they like using their labels, they like organizing their mail, so they'll ask me, for instance, this message right here is always a good example. Now, they say, I put, the 4 labels that I want on this message, so I'll be able to go to all 4 of those places like I did earlier and find it in all those different places. Now, how do I get it out of my inbox? Because right now it's in the inbox as well. I don't want it there anymore. You can't delete it because that's going to delete it from all the places. So what you do is use this archive right here. So let's talk about archiving. Right now, I select this message. I could go to any one of these places and find it. The other place that I'll always be able to find this message is in All Mail. So if I click on All Mail, I should find this message selected here. And All Mail is everything. It's all of your mail. Everything besides your spam and your trash will always be in all mail, and you have no choice about that. Anytime something comes immediately into your inbox, it's also going to always be in your all mail right away. You don't make any choices as to what goes there. So you notice here, I have stuff in my inbox in all mail. I have that message with the multiple labels here, things with multiple labels, things with no labels. Everything besides your spam and your trash will be in your all mail. So if I was to archive this message, you notice I come up here in the top. It has that inbox label on it currently. I click on archive, inbox disappears from there. So it's no longer there. If I come back to the inbox now, that Travelocity message is no longer there. So the easier way to put it is archiving messages removes stuff from your inbox. Again, I'll do it here from the inbox, hotels.com, archive it. Now it's been archived. It's not in my inbox anymore. I should always be able to go to all mail, though, and I should be able to find that hotels message right there. Okay? And if I ever put any labels on it, I'll be able to find it in all those different places as well. Okay? So you'll see down here at the bottom, you have 25 gigabytes of space in your guys' new, Gmail, Google Apps inbox. So that's a, very, very large amount. I have maybe 15,000 messages in my work account. I'm not even 2% full of my allotment. So you don't have to worry about deleting stuff as much. You can always just archive it, and then you'll always be able to find it at a later time via search or via your labels. Okay? Now, if you ever did decide to delete something, though, I'll show you what happens. So I'm going to come here, maybe select this message. It has multiple labels on it, clients and follow-up. So I'll be able to go to clients, see it selected there. I'll be able to go to follow-up and see it there. And I'll always be able to find it in all mail. Okay? Now, if I do decide to delete it, I'm going to come up here to the trash can. Notice the notification that I get. Moving conversations from all mail to the trash is going to remove them from all the views, including your labels and search results. So that's what I mentioned earlier. If you delete it from one place, it's going to be deleted from all the places that it's at. So I'll say OK here. Then move to the trash. You see that notification up at the top. Come into my trash, and there we have it right there. Still has the labels on it, but if I go to clients, I'm not going to find it there. It's not selected anywhere. Go to follow-up. It's not there as well. Right now that message exists in one place, and in one place only. It's in the trash. Okay? So the reason it still has the labels on it is because Google realizes a lot of its users are what it calls trash pickers. So they'll see this message up here at the top. Messages that have been in the trash for more than 30 days are going to be automatically deleted. So I basically have up to 30 days to come back in here, take one of these messages and say, hey, this is actually something that I still consistently need or need to get back out of my trash. So I can come up here, select it, do a move to, send it back to my inbox. Okay? So now it's back in my inbox. I see it selected here. I could go into clients and I should be able to find it there. Again, I should be able to go into follow-up, and I should see it there. Okay? So the message to drive home is, if you delete a message from one place, if I was to delete this, it gets deleted from all the places. It's no longer in clients. It's no longer in follow-up. Okay? It's only in the trash. Likewise, if I restore it, it's going to be restored to all the places that it's in as well. Now I should be able to go to clients and see it, and I should be able to go to follow-up and see it in there as well. Okay? Does anyone have questions on archiving, on deletion, anything like that? When you archive a message in Gmail, it's not saving it to your hard drive or anything like that. Everything's still browser-based, so it's just removing it from your inbox, and it will always be in all mail, and it will always be in any of the labels that you find it in. Okay? So a lot of people, when they first get on Gmail, they have a hard time understanding, why all mail exists. Because you really don't control what goes into all mail. Just everything goes there by default. And the reason all mail exists is for the ability for you to use your search. So Emily wants to know, just real quick, how to create a label again. Sure thing, Emily. Underneath more down here on the bottom left, you have the ability to create a new label. Okay? Now, there's also other ways, too. I could also select a message and use these icons here. This Move To icon has the ability to create a new label. This Label As has the ability to create a new label as well. Gmail usually gives you, or Google I should say, usually gives you a couple different ways to do things. Now the way I use most often, I just come down here to More and click on Create a Label. But whichever your preference is, there's 3 different ways that I know of to create a label. Okay? So, your all mail. It exists for you to use your search. Search is very powerful in Google and in Google Apps. I mean, Google built themselves on their search engine, so that same power is available right here with this search bar up at the top. I can always just type in a simple keyword, maybe something like Lynn right here. Now it'll do an extensive search for me. It's searching all of my mail, and this is searching Lynn right now, the word, but it's searching anything that went to someone named Lynn, anything from somebody named Lynn, anything that had Lynn in the subject, anything that had Lynn in the body of the message. It even searches your trash, as you see here, and it'll search attachments as well. Okay? So what you can do to refine your search a little bit, if you're looking for a specific person, you can always add their whole email address like that. And then you can also add operators to the beginning, something like from with a colon here. No spaces needed. This is going to search now everything that's from Lynn. So you see my results here are now refined to 21. Likewise, I could do to Lynn. This will be anything that went to Lynn, 20 results. I could do something like subject, for instance, maybe travel. Now this will search the subject of all my messages, and anything that had travel in the subject, it's pulling up those results. So that's how search works with your different operators. You can always, as well, just go to a specific label, click on one of your labels here. You'll notice the search operator populates itself. So the search operator populates itself up here, and then I can add just like another keyword here, maybe Greece, for instance, and it refines my results. So now it's searching the label luxury vacations for the keyword Greece, and these are my 8 results. Okay, so I can easily find what it is I'm looking for. Now, the easiest way I find to use search is just coming up and using this drop down up here in the top right corner. So this is to the right of the search bar. It just says show search options. Click on that, and you'll see all the different ways you can use your search. So typically you search all of your mail like I mentioned, but if you want to search a specific place, like a specific label, you can do that. You can search from people, to people, specific subject. You can even search keywords. You can search attachments and date ranges. So just like I did a from Lynn earlier, I can type it in here, click on search. You notice it does the same exact search for me. It populates that operator for me, so I don't have to worry about memorizing any operators, and I have the same results. You'll start to memorize some of the basic ones over time anyway, but the easiest way, again, is just using that drop-down. And that's how search works. Anyone have any questions in regards to your search? Nothing? Okay. All right, let's quickly just touch on composing a message. Most people have been using email for a long enough time. They don't have to have a run-through on how to create and send a message off. So I just want to touch on some things that may be new for you in Gmail. So I'm going to come up here and click on the Compose button. You'll notice you get a new message window that opens up. I can start typing in my names here. My contacts will auto appear for me. I'll add Aaron and Lynn. Now you notice this little thing that shows up. It says add Shell Nicholas. This is basically a memory jogger. It tells you, hey, when you send messages to Aaron and Lynn, you typically also send it to Shell and Nicholas as well. So it's just a memory jogger to help you remember key people. So after you start emailing people on a consistent basis, you'll probably start seeing this consider add feature. So I could click on their names if I wanted, and now they're added to this message. Okay? You have your normal carbon copy, blind carbon copy over here on the right, add a subject. Now just to show you how spell check, or just to show you how, I guess you could use spell check, yeah. How your spell check works in Gmail. I'm going to just correctly spell some things here. So as you see here in a lot of email systems, it'll autocorrect for you. Gmail doesn't do that. You just get a red notification that something, or Google thinks something's incorrectly misspelled. So if I was to come over here, I could just right-click on that word. You'll get Google's recommendations on how to fix it. Now, you can also come down here to this drop-down in the bottom right corner, click on that, and you can do a check spelling this way. This is going to highlight everything it thinks is incorrectly spelled. Again, I can fix it now. And you can also, which is cool about this feature, do a recheck in a number of different languages. Okay? So that's how that works. Down towards the bottom, you have all your normal formatting options, your different fonts, your different sizes, your different alignments. You have the paperclip if you want to attach a file from your hard drive. Underneath the plus icon, there's a few different options. You can insert files using your Google Drive. You can insert photographs, hyperlinks, you can insert emoticons, and even invitations if you wish. Okay? That's how all that works. You'll notice this has been saved automatically for me. So it's automatically saved. I don't have to worry about that. If I was to X this out, I can go back to my drafts, which now has the 1 in parentheses, and that message has been saved for me right here. Okay? If I trash it down here, though, it's going to delete it entirely. That's how that goes. Trina asks, how do you add a signature block? I'm assuming that's just adding the signature, Trina. To add your signature, we're going to go into it later, but if you want to know, you just come up to this gear here and go down to your settings. First place you're at is in your general settings, and down towards the bottom, you'll see where you can set your signature. And we'll go into that later. All right. So we talked about most of the basics and then some of the new features you may see when composing email. What I want to touch on now is a couple different ways you can actually automate some of the things that you're doing with your mail and your messages. Okay? So again, I'm just going to click on Compose to have a new message window open here. And I'm going to talk to you guys about canned responses real quick. So a lot of people find canned responses a real useful tool. And canned responses is a lab that you first have to enable before you're able to use it. And I can show you where to go, again, to enable all these different labs. But I want to show you what canned responses is all about real quick. So a canned response would basically be something that you have to say over and over again, but you're not going to have to want to type it over and over again. So if you ever want to create a new canned response, what you want to do is create a new message like I did here, and you want to start with a completely blank slate. You want to delete everything on the page, including your signature. Okay? The next thing you want to do is just type in what it is you want to can. So I'll say thanks for your patience. Again, I'm correctly spelling stuff. Bear with me for a second here. We are working on the problem. Thanks. So a use case for this would be maybe you're a project manager or you're just working for something and there's some sort of problem. Now instead of getting a message or instead of getting like 500 messages about the problem and having to respond individually to each one, I can now can this response and then just automatically insert it and send it off every time without having to type it over and over again. So I can come down here to this drop down where it says more options, go to my canned responses. Again, I see this because I've enabled the lab. You guys might not see this yet. I go to canned responses, go to save, and save it as a new canned response. So I'll call this aware 1. Or I'll just call this aware and I'll overwrite the one that already exists. Okay? I can now delete this. So now anytime I get a message, like I mentioned, that is talking about a problem or something like that, like this message, for instance, if this was something about a problem, I could quickly reply, go down to my canned responses, go to insert, and insert aware. And it inserts it right there for you. Okay? So this is a quick one, but you'll notice maybe if it's a really long canned response, like some I might have saved here, I think travel tips is a long one, for instance. This is something I wouldn't want to have to type again and again and again. So this is just a quick way to insert this as a canned response and then just send it off right away. Okay? That's why canned responses can be useful. So now if we go back to our use case, though, 500 people sent us a message about a problem. So we pretty much automated like 50% of what we have to do. 500 messages are going to come to us. Now I just have to insert that canned response 500 times and send it off. Now the downside to that is I still have to do that 500 times. I'm not going to have to type it 500 times, but I'm still going to have to click insert, canned response, send 500 times. There's no limit to including the canned response as far as I know, Emily. Now, if you're making something incredibly long, you may find yourself at some sort of limit, but I would just test it out myself. I myself have never seen a limit. So, like I said, we've automated 50% of the workflow. Now, we don't want to have to click insert, canned response, and send 500 times. We can automate the second part of that as well with what Gmail calls filters. A lot of other email systems call them rules. Gmail calls them filters, and I'll show you what they can do. So I'm coming up here again to this drop-down in the top right where it says Show Search Options. I click on that, and these are all the different ways you can create a filter. If I want to create a filter from somebody to somebody, if it has a specific subject or words, I can do all those different things. Okay? So if I did, for instance, have the words aware, I can click on Create Filter with eSearch, and these are all the different rules I could apply to this filter. I can have it entirely skip my inbox if I want. I can immediately put a star on it. I can immediately send it to a label if I want. And then what I want to do, particularly for this case, is send that canned response aware. So now anytime someone sends me a message that has aware or that has a problem in it, it's going to automatically send this canned response to them. Okay? So I create that filter. It's now created. I come up into the settings here. I go down to settings. If I go over to where it says filters, this is the different matches that it says. Anything that comes in that says aware, it's going to skip the inbox, it's going to apply the labels, CCSD, and it's going to send the canned response aware. I actually did not mean to say aware here for matches, so I can just edit this. I want to say has the word problem. So now anytime a message comes to me that has the word problem in it, so if someone's talking about a problem, it's going to automatically send me a where can response. I got ahead of myself there. I apologize. Now again, I come back to filters. Anything that has the matches, let me refresh it. It's still showing aware. I thought I edited it. I guess I have to continue this way and save it. Update it. There we go. So now, anything that comes in that has the matches problem, it's going to do these things. Get my inbox, apply the label CCSV, send the can response aware. Okay? So here you can edit your filters, you can delete your filters, and you can create an unlimited amount of filters. One of the most common filters people use is they like to filter stuff from particular people. So I do that in my work account a lot. I want to, filter stuff from maybe my boss. Anything that comes from Lynn, I want it to, immediately go to my label marked, personal or important, whatever label that you have, and I'll have it skip my inbox to it. I can create that filter, and now anything that ever came from Lynn is going to have those rules automatically applied to it. So filters are a great way to just automate some of your workflow that you're doing in Gmail. Anyone have any questions on canned responses or on filters particularly? They're really cool to use, definitely. All right. Let's take some time then and just go through some of the different settings in your Gmail. So to get to my settings, I've gone there a few times now just to show you slowly. You have your little gear up here in the top right corner. I'm going to click on that and just go down to where it says settings. Okay? The first place it takes you is to the general tab, but we want to first go over here to labs because I've been talking about labs a few times and I'm going to show you a few additional labs right now. So I'm coming over here to labs. You'll notice here, these are the enabled labs that I currently have. I have canned responses enabled. That was the one we just talked about. The Google Calendar gadget, some people like. You notice here I have these three dots in the bottom left corner of my screen. I can click on that. I get a little snippet of my calendar in my inbox. That's what the Google Calendar gadget looks like. I have inserting images enabled, so I can insert an image into a message. The mark as read button is also useful. Message sneak peek and the preview pane are the two I talked about at the very beginning of the training, so those are useful as well. And then undo send is a very, very useful lab. To demonstrate it, if you want to see, I'm going to compose a message here, send it to Lynn. I like to use this as an example just for fun. I say I hate you, I send it off. Now that says up here at the top now, your message has been sent, but I have the opportunity to undo this message. Okay, I actually have up to 30 seconds to undo this. So I could sit here and wait for up to 30 seconds. I could click on undo. That message has now been undone. Lynn has no copy of this message in her inbox at all whatsoever. I make the changes that I need to, and I can send it back off. So what undo send does is basically send it to a, like a holding cell where a timer goes off. Once for me 30 seconds happens, then it actually sends the message away for you. So it's a great way just to allow you to recall a message. Okay. I'm going to go back into settings, go over to labs again. Those are all my late enabled labs. Below that, you'll see available labs. They're all alphabetically listed. And you can see the labs go on and on. There's a long list of labs in your Gmail. So start with the ones that we recommend, and then you can come back in here and see if there's additional ones that you find useful for you. And anytime you're enabling labs, just be sure to save your changes down here at the bottom. Okay? Any questions on the labs? All right, let's go over to the General tab then. So this is where you can just continue to go to customize some of your different settings in your Gmail. You can set your language here, your browser connection, what your default reply behavior is. If you want to turn off conversation view, you can do it here. Undo send should now be here since you guys enabled that lab. So like you said, I have my cancellation period set to 30 seconds. Now that's a little ridiculous. You don't need 30 seconds to sit there and say, hey, I need to undo send this message. Google defaults it to 10 for you, which most people typically use, but if you want to change it, change it to whatever you want. Okay? You have your stars as well. So I mentioned I have a couple stars in use. So this is where you can go to enable additional stars. I can just click and drag a star from not in use and move it up to in use, and then I'll be able to use those stars in my inbox. Likewise, I can just drag one from in use down to not in use, and then I won't be able to use those ones. So that's where you can go enable the different stars. Now for desktop notifications, it's definitely a good idea to turn on your notifications for mail on, so you'll have new mail notifications for your desktop. That means if you have your browser screen minimized, even if you get a new message, you'll get a little floating notification on your desktop that you have new mail. Now, as a little footer to that, you have to be using Google Chrome for that to be possible for you guys. So it's definitely a good recommendation to use Google Chrome as your internet browser as well. Okay. Below that, you can set a picture for yourself that people will see, when you're sending email. You can set your signature here, so someone asks about your signature. You can set it here. You have all your normal formatting options, the ability to insert images and links. And then I would always check this box as well to insert your signature before quoted text and replies. Okay? If you want to turn off your snippets, you can do it in your general settings. And lastly, at the bottom, you have your vacation or out of office response. Any questions on the general settings? All right, cool. Let's see, we talked about labels, so let's talk about the inbox tab up here at the top. So if you come up here and you go into your settings, you go to this inbox tab, you'll notice there's actually a few different ways you can organize your inbox. So I'm set to classic. A lot of people enjoy classic and don't feel like changing their inbox in any way. But if you guys noticed when you looked at my work inbox when I pulled it over for a second, I have it set to a different type of inbox. So this drop down gives you all the different ways that you can organize. If you want all of your important mail to be at the top, you can do important first. You can do unread first, all starred messages first, and then you can do priority inbox. And that's a real popular one for a lot of users, and that's the one that I had it set to. So again, I'll pull over Brian's, for instance, here to show you guys. This is what a priority inbox will look like. There's basically 4 different panes, and you can choose what content you want to go to each pane. So Brian has his first pane set up as everything that's important and unread goes here. Next, he has everything that's starred goes in the second pane. In the third pane, he has everything that's unread. And then in the last pane, he has everything else. Okay? If you used to come up to the settings gear here, go into settings, you'll notice in his inbox, it's set to priority. He has the 4 different sections. I call them panes. And underneath options, you see you can change it to a few different things. If you go to more options, you can even put a specific label in those sections if you want as well. Okay? So that's what a priority inbox would look like. And that's definitely a great way if you're interested in organizing your mailbox a certain way. Any questions on priority inbox or any of the different settings in your inbox? I'm going to minimize this, go back to mine. All right, then, moving along. So let's talk about accounts real quick then too. So accounts, this tab is where you would go if you ever needed to delegate your inbox to someone else. If you needed someone to have access to your inbox, this is where you go. You would just need to come down here to where it says grant access to your account, click on add another account. All you got to do is add their email address, click on next step, send the invitation to grant them access. Now as you see, they will get an email to them. They'll have the ability to accept or deny this request. So right now you'll see he's listed here, Brian. It's pending until he accepts. Once he accepts, he'll be able to read, delete, and send stuff on my behalf. Okay? I can always revoke this access at any time as well. Now, if you're ever a delegate for somebody, if someone has given you this permission like I just gave to Brian, you can come up here to this drop-down in the top right corner of the screen where your name is located. Click on that, and you'll see if you're a delegate for anyone else. So you'll see here, for example, James has given me access to his inbox. I'm a delegate for James. I can click on James here, and I'm logged into James's inbox now. I can take any of these messages here. He has a lot of Google Calendar reminders. I can take all of these and delete them if I wish. I could also read any of these messages, and I could send stuff if I wanted to as well. Okay, so that's how that works. So Kate has a good question. She says, can I set this up to forward CCSD Gmail to my personal Gmail? Yeah, Kate, I would check with your IT team or maybe your project management team just to see if there's a policy in place if they don't want you, forwarding internal mail to your personal mail. But if they give you the permission to do that, you certainly can set up, you can set up mail to forward to a different address. This is not where you would go, though, to do it. I think you need to go to forwarding. Yeah, so all you got to do is add a forwarding address right here under the forwarding tab. We usually don't do this in our typical training, but here you can just add a forwarding address. You'll probably put in your personal Gmail account right here, and then you're just going to have to go into your personal Gmail account and like accept that request. And then once you do that, it'll forward for you. Okay. You should also, if you are interested, you should also always be able to create a filter that way too. I could do, I could do a filter, from specific people to forward, but if you just want all of your mail to forward to your personal, do it the way I just showed you. If you want particular messages, like messages from Lynn to forward, one of the rules is probably forward it. Yeah, you just have to add the forwarding address first. So it's up to you. If it's particular messages, you can create a filter. If it's all of your messages, you can go into your settings and go to forwarding and pop /tag. Good question, though. Does anyone have any questions about the accounts? Now, again, anytime I was in here, like with James, it's going to be sent on behalf of. So there's always a paper trail saying I'm the person that, sent something or did something on his behalf. So you're not able to really, like sabotage someone else's inbox. You're not going to have to worry about saboteurs. Okay. All right, let's move along then. We don't need to talk about chat because you guys aren't doing chats. We talked about labs. Offline, if you guys ever plan on, using some offline capability or needing offline capability, you can just come here to install Gmail offline. And then lastly, you have your themes. Themes are just, your different backgrounds that you can choose. So you see I have a basic white background set. And you can see if you scroll down, there's some more exotic themes that you can choose from. Tree is a real popular one, I know. And if you notice, if you click on tree, it's going to ask for your location. And basically this means, because this is a live theme, what they call it, it's going to actually change with the time of day and with the weather. So if it's real sunny outside and you choose the tree theme, you'll see like a nice sunshine in your background. If it's cloudy, for instance, like if I pull over my main account here, I have the tree theme enabled. It's cloudy where I'm at in Atlanta, so I got these clouds up here in the top of my theme. So that's what that means. That's how that theme works, just so you guys know that. All right, that's pretty much the inbox and everything we plan to cover there. Does anyone have any particular questions on anything that we covered in the inbox? Let's see, Trina asks, since the district has a logo, they will probably want that as a standard on our background. What's the best way to do that? Yeah, for Trina, you can choose your theme as your background kind of right here, but you'll notice I have this Wing Win Travel logo up here in the top left corner. And again, if I pull over my Cloud Sherpas, I have my Cloud Sherpas logo up here in the top left as well. So your system administrators, whoever has control over your guys' admin control panel, can upload a custom background that will show up here in the top left corner of your guys' screen. And then you can choose whatever theme you want, but you'll always be able to see, that specific logo if you guys decide to upload that, which I imagine your IT team probably will do in time if it's not there yet. No problem. All right. Anyone else have any questions on the inbox? All right, cool. Let's move into contacts real quick then. Contacts don't take too much time, then we can jump into the calendar. So there's a couple different ways you can actually get to your contacts from your inbox here. You'll see the contacts tab up here at the top. Now if I was to click on this, you'll notice it opens up a new tab of contacts. So I have a tab of contacts and I have a tab of mail open. You can also, though, click on this drop down where it says mail in your inbox. You notice you have the ability to get to contacts that way as well. If I can click on that, it sends me to contacts in the window that I'm already in. So that's the difference. If you like it in a new tab, just use contacts up here. If you want to open it in the same window you're at, use it right here. I prefer to always have a tab of my inbox open, so I'll open up contacts in a different tab. Okay? So now I'm in my contacts. Let's go over just a few different things here. My contacts, the first thing you should see up here on the left, these are contacts that are going to be syncing with your mobile phone. Travel partners and well wishes are two custom, personal groups that I've created. Some people call them distribution lists as well. These are just personal to me, though. Most contacted are the 20 people you contact the most often. Other contacts is everybody else. Below that, you have directory, which should be your guys' corporate directory. Any corporate contacts and any shared corporate contacts should be in here. And then you have the ability to create new groups as well. So Trina asks, will we be able to import our current group-wide contacts into our Gmail? Yeah, Trina, most of the time it just, you obviously have the ability. You see right here it says import contacts, so you can do it yourself. But I would check with your IT team first. A lot of times your IT team or even our own team, like the Cloud Surface team, will be migrating your contacts for you, so you guys won't have to do anything. But if that wasn't part of the plan, obviously, you know, there's some sort of cost associated with doing that. You guys obviously have the ability to import contacts yourself, so no worries, you're not going to lose any of your contacts from GroupWise. You can simply migrate them as well. But check with your IT team, see if it's their plan to move it over for you. Okay? So if I ever wanted to create a new group here, all I got to do is click on New Group. Again, give it a name just like I gave my label the name. Now I got my CCSD personal group right here created. Okay? No contacts in it currently. Not a problem. I can just click on this plus icon to add some people here. I could add Aaron if I want, you know, Lynn, Michelle, and then just click on Add. Now they're all added. I could also just go to a place like Other Contacts. I could select some people this way. Go to this icon right here with the multiple people on it called Groups, and add them to CCSD that way. Okay? So all those people are now in the group. They have all the different tags to the right that they're associated with. So you see Shell's actually in CCSD as well as on top of Well Wishes. And you'll notice everyone has now My Contacts applied to them. So anytime you're adding someone to one of your personal groups, it's going to add them to My Contacts by default as well. And again, My Contacts are people that sync with your mobile phone. So you may not want these people to sync with your mobile phone. So to unselect them from doing that, I can just highlight everyone, come up here, deselect My Contacts, click Apply. Now they won't be synced with my mobile phone anymore. Okay? So that's how these personal distribution lists work. So for instance, Well Wishes has 7 people in it. This is personal to myself. Again, I can't share this group out with anybody, but I could come in here and compose a mail. Notice I can send it to Well Wishes. It shows up for me, and I click on Well Wishes, and everyone that's part of that distribution list for myself is populated now in this message. Okay, so that's how that works in your contacts, just to show you. Now, underneath More, there's a few different things you can do as well. If I wanted to merge or delete contacts, I could rename the group, delete it. I can also manage the delegation settings. So just like I delegated my inbox to somebody, I could come down here, add a name like Lynn, share and save. Now Lynn's going to be able to come in and edit my contacts. She'll be able to create new contacts, update my contacts, even delete my contacts as well. Okay? So if you ever need to delegate your contacts, this is where you do that. Also underneath More, you can import and export again. You can print your contact list. You can restore contacts and then sort by first or last name, however you prefer. Okay? And that's pretty much contacts. Anyone have any specific questions on your contacts? Again, it usually is part of the IT team's migration strategy to move your existing contacts from whatever system it is that you guys are using into Gmail for you. Now, if they don't do that for you, just rest assured you're not going to lose that data. You always have the opportunity to import your contacts as well by yourself. And they should provide you with some documentation and some at least help or support on how to do that for you guys if that is their decision to just have you guys handle it themselves. Okay? I'm going to close out contacts now. So we're going to go into calendar training. Unless anyone has any questions on inbox or on contacts. Nothing? Okay. So, to get to your calendar, Tammy, delegating your contacts is not really the same as sharing them. I mean, that person will be able to come in here and see your contacts, definitely. Like I manage delegation settings here, and now Lynn and Brian will be able to see my contacts. But that doesn't make all these contacts part of their contacts as well. So that's not the same thing as sharing your contacts. So if I said that, I said it incorrectly. If you're delegating your contacts to someone, you're giving them the ability just to create new contacts for you, edit your contacts, or delete your contacts. It really has nothing to do with their contacts. Okay? There are definitely ways to share your contacts and to share your, address books and groups and things like that. What you guys need to do instead is do Google Groups up here at the top. Now, I'm not sure how your company plans to use Google Groups, So Google Groups is where you create shared address books, shared distribution lists, shared contact lists, all that kind of stuff. Now you need to check with your team to see what their plan is for using groups, but that's what you would do. And groups is a whole another can of worms. It usually takes like an hour and a half just to train on that as well. So we can't really jump into groups, but groups is where you would be talking about shared distribution lists and shared contact lists, that sort of stuff. No problem. All right, so let's jump into calendar now. So I'm clicking on my calendar tab up here. It's opening up another tab. So you notice I have a tab of contacts, tab of calendar, tab of inbox. Okay, be careful with your tabs up here at the top. A lot of people, they're in their calendar. They think to get back to mail, I can just click on mail here. It's going to send me back to the mail that I have open. Not the case. It opens up a whole new tab of your mail. So a lot of people, they won't be paying attention. By the end of the day, they're going to have a lot of different tabs open. And the problem is, you see these tabs get smaller and smaller and smaller. So it can kind of be comical, but we'll notice this with a lot of people. They have so many tabs open, they're not going to be able to find what it is they're looking for specifically. So I now have multiple tabs in my inbox open, multiple calendars, and you don't need that. So make sure you manage your tabs up here at the top. You never need more than one calendar open, one mail, one contacts. Okay. All right. So we're in our calendar here. You'll notice I'm currently in the month view. You guys are probably set to the week view by default. You see here with these icons, there's 5 different views that you can choose. You can choose the day view, the week. There's the month, which I was in, the 4-day, and then the agenda view. Whichever one that you like, you can set as your default. Okay. So Trina, let's see, you're jumping ahead a little bit. Let's see, I have to view 2 calendars. Well, I'll be able to see me and my bosses at the same time. Yeah, definitely, Trina. I'll show you what it means to view other people's calendars and have access to other people's calendars in just a little bit. I'd say hang on like 10 minutes or so. Let's talk about the mini calendar first up here at the top left. So you see I'm currently in May. I can use these arrows just to quickly skip to a month in the future. If I want to go to November 13th, for instance, I click on the 13th. It sends me to the week of the 13th. If I click on it again, it will send me to the day of the 13th. To get back to present day, just click on today. Now I'm back to today. Okay. Let's talk about creating events now. I mentioned at the beginning of training there's actually 3 different ways you can create an event. So the first way that's probably the most obvious is the big red create button up here in the top left corner. Click on that. It's going to open up an editable event for you and you can start to create your event. All I got to do is give it a name. If I click on the date here, it's going to open up the mini calendar again so I can choose a specific date. Same thing with time. It's going to open up the time slots. I can click on time zone to give it a specific time zone. Now, it's always going to show up in the correct time zone for the user. So if you want to give it a specific time zone, you can do it here. You can also make the event all day if you wish, and you can also repeat the event. So if you want to repeat it as often as daily to weekly to monthly to yearly, any number of recurrences, you can do that. I believe, most people do like weekly events, so we can always say weekly here for our instance. So now it's going to be weekly on Wednesday. Okay? When we're ready to add our guest, we come over here to the right side of the screen towards the center, start typing in names. It'll start auto-appearing for you as part of your contact list. So I can add a few names here. Lynn, Aaron, Shell, and hello, Nicholas. So now I have my 4 members added. To the right of guests, you'll see rooms, etc. Now this is where you go to book a room or resource. So I click on that. Now the cool thing about this is you give it a second here, it's only going to show the available rooms. So right now it's showing only the available rooms at this time from 6 to 7. So I'm not going to have to worry about double booking. Going beyond that as well, since this is a weekly event, this is looking the next 15 weeks as well. So if I book showroom here, I know it's available the next 15 times, and it will be booked 15 weeks in advance for me. Okay? And this is a retroactive thing. So as each week goes by, it'll book on an additional week. So you never have to worry about rebooking another room for you. It does it for you automatically. Okay? Unless there's some sort of conflict. So now I have showroom booked. I can come back to my guest list. I see showroom as a guest. Now you notice here, if I click on one of these icons below, I can make somebody optional. So if I wanted to make Lynn optional, I would just click on the icon next to our name. Now her icon is white, so she's an optional attendee. Below that, you have your guest permission settings. If you want your guests to be able to modify your event, you can do so. If you want them to invite others, if you want them to see the guest list, you can do all that. If you don't want them to have any of those abilities, just select or deselect whatever you want to give them, whatever permissions. Okay. Coming back to the center here, you can add a description for your event. You can add an attachment via your Google Drive. You can add a specific color for your event. You can work with your reminders. And lastly, your privacy or busy settings. So if this was a private event, I could click private down here, and no one will be able to see any details about this event. Okay? So Nicole asks, can you use your group contacts in lieu of adding each person? I actually can't remember. Let me see if it auto-populates well wishes. Yeah, it looks like it, Nicole. So if I could just click well wishes here, and it will populate everyone that's in that personal group for me. Good question. All right, so now, we've added these 4 different people, but what we really haven't looked at yet is if they're available or not. You know, I've added all 4 of these people, but I haven't seen specifically their calendar to know if they're free or if they're busy. So that's where Find a Time is going to come into play. Now, you can also use suggested times, but suggested times doesn't show up if this is a weekly event. And this is what that is right now. It's weekly. So if I was to unselect Repeat, notice Suggested Times shows down here at the bottom right corner of the screen. If I click on Repeat again, it's not there. So if this is just a single event, if it's just today from 6 to 7, you'll see Suggested Times. Click on that. Google looks it up automatically for you. It tells you all the different dates and times that every participant can attend, including the conference room. Okay? Most people, though, like to see a visual notification of everyone's calendar. That's where you use Find a Time. So again, I'll click on Repeat, so it's a weekly event, and I'll go to Find a Time. And as you can see here, it pulls up everybody's calendar, including the showroom. And now it looks like Aaron's busy at this time, so I can drag and I can drop this to a different time. You notice it changes the time for me. It seems like I'm not a nice person because I'm making this at 9 p.m. Now you'll notice Lynn, she's an optional attendee. I could come up here to where it says Show Guest. I could click on All, and now Lynn's calendar shows as well. Okay? If I ever needed to move to a different day, I could use the icons here to move to a different day, and then find whatever time works for everyone. So I'll keep it here on Wednesday, 9 p.m. This time works for everybody. I see everyone's calendar. It should be good to go. I click on Save. I click on Send. Yeah, thanks for your time too, Trina. Hopefully you have a little bit more comfortable handle on Google Apps. And now this event has now been created. Okay? I need to come down here to be able to see it because it's a late event. So there it is, team meeting. I should be able to go every week and see it from 9 to 10 since it's a weekly meeting as well. You see, I can keep coming and see it every week. Okay? So that's creating an event that way. Now you can also create an event with this drop down right here. It's called the Quick Add feature. So a lot of people like this to do quick ads for like personal things here. For instance, you can just add a subject, like dinner with friends. All you have to do after that is add a time. Then you just add a date. You don't have to be specific about your date. I can do something like every other Sunday. Click on Enter, and it added dinner with friends for me on Sunday every other Sunday at 7. So if I come here to my monthly, you'll see 7 p.m. dinner with friends every other Sunday. So a lot of people like that feature as well. And then always, you can always just click on a specific day, say something like sales meeting 3 p.m. It'll create it that day, that time for you. Okay? Now, does anyone have any questions on those 3 different ways to create an event? Okay. Now, just as easily as I was creating those events, I can edit them just as easily as well. So I created team meeting just a second ago. Notice I can click on this box. I can drag it to a different time. I can move it to a different day. As soon as I let go, it's going to ask me if I want to notify the guests of these changes as well. Okay. I'm going to cancel that. I just wanted to show you. I can also elongate this, make it shorter, make it longer. And I can always just click on the name of it, and it's going to open it up as an editable event, and I can change it this way. A lot of people like doing it this way because if they need to change the time, they want to look at everyone's calendar again. So you can go back to Find a Time, find a different time that works for everyone, click on it, save it, and it's going to resend it to everyone for you. Okay? So that's editing events. Let me show you real quick what it looks like if you get invitations in your inbox. So I'm coming back here just into my Gmail inbox. You notice I have 2 invitations down here towards the center of my screen, one from Nicholas, one from Mark. I'll open up Mark's, for instance. So this was an invitation. You'll notice it gives me the details of the event, where it would be located, when it is. You'll also get your agenda for that day as well, so that's pretty cool too. It tells you what you have going on throughout that day, and it kind of shows you where that meeting is going to fall in regards to everything else that you're doing. So you don't have to go to your calendar to see basically if you're free or if you're available. Okay? Now, you'll notice up here at the top you have the ability to say yes, maybe, no, and then you also down here at the bottom have the ability to say yes, maybe, no. So to show you what the difference between the two is, if I was to say, no right here, you'll just get a notification that says you replied no to this invitation up here at the top. Now, if I do it down here at the bottom, it's a hyperlink. It's going to open up the event in an editable window for me. So now it says, no, I'm not going up here at the top. I can add a note if I wanted to. I could change my response as well. Say, maybe I'll go now, add a note, maybe. Anytime you add a note, everyone's going to be able to view that note, not just, the person that organized the event, just so you know that. Okay? Now notice I can add guests if I wanted to as well. This means the creator of this event has given me the ability to invite others. So if I wanted to invite someone else, I could. I could also email all the guests with this button right here. So click on that. That's going to send an email to everyone that's on this event. I can put whatever message that I want to in here and send it off. Okay? Any questions on how how you get invitations works? I'm going to close this out. All right, cool. All right, let's talk about, this is definitely the important stuff about, working in your calendar. Let's talk about like my calendars and other calendars and how you see other people's calendars specifically. So I'm here, I'm in the week view. The only calendar I'm looking at right now is my own calendar. But in Gmail, you have the ability to view, everyone in your organization's calendar. So you can view anyone's calendar in your organization. What permission they, what they allow you to see, particularly on their calendar, is completely up to them. So let me demonstrate what that means. You see underneath my calendars, the first calendar underneath that should be your name. Your first name, your last name should be the first calendar underneath my calendars. Where I'm going down first to is to other calendars, and I want to add a coworker's calendar. So I'm going to click in here. I'll add someone like Lynn, for instance. So now Lynn is showing up in purple, as you can see here, and I can only see her free busy information. If I was to add someone else like Aaron, Aaron shows up in pink, and you'll notice the difference now. Lynn, I only see her free busy information. When she's booked, it just says busy. For Aaron, she's allowed me to see all of her event details, all the information about her events. So I can actually see the name of the events. I can click on that, see who was invited. I can see a lot more than what Lynn allows me to see. So that's the difference between those two. Okay? Now, to change what people see on your calendar, where you need to go is to the drop-down next to your name. You need to click on that and go to where it says Share this calendar. Okay? So if you want to share this calendar with others, again, everyone in your organization, at a minimum, is going to be able to see only your free busy information. If you want everyone to see all your event details, I could change it right here if I wanted to. Now, down below, you could also grant specific access to specific people. So if I wanted, for instance, to add Lynn here, right now, everyone can only see my free busy information. If I wanted Lynn to be able to see all my event details, I could. So she'd be the only person that could see my event details. Everyone else would only see free busy. Notice, too, I could give Lynn the ability to make changes to my events, and I could give her the highest setting. I could allow her to make changes and manage sharing to my events, which will give her all the abilities that I have on my calendar as well. So this is what you need to do if you have a boss. Your boss needs to grant you specific access to his calendar by adding your name here and giving you the ability to make changes and manage sharing to their calendar. Okay? And then I click on Save, and that's done. Now, to show you what that looks like, I'm going to hide Lynn and Aaron's calendar real quick. All I got to do is left-click on their name. Their calendar is hidden from view now. I'm going to add two more calendars here. I'm going to add Brian. I'm going to add James. So Brian and James, you notice they showed up underneath my calendars up here at the top. And it's because of this, is because I have specific permissions on their calendar. I could come here on Thursday, click to create an event. Notice I can put it on Brian's calendar, and I can put it on James' calendar. So I'm a delegate for their calendar. They've given me specific access, the ability to create stuff on their calendar. And that's what that's going to look like. Okay? So as you can see, Google gives you the overlay feature. You can't change that. You can't have like a side-by-side calendar view. And you can always show people's calendars and hide them just by clicking on the color next to their names. Okay? Any questions on that? So Chad has a good question here. He says, is it possible to make a department calendar? For example, like a special ed department calendar to share important dates to those teachers that fall under that department. Yeah, absolutely, Chad. So if you ever want to create a personal calendar or just a new calendar you want to share out with people, like a department one, where you're going to want to go is to My Calendars up here at the top. To the right of My Calendars, there's also a drop-down. Click on that. You'll see Create New Calendar. Okay? So your example here, I'll say Special Ed Calendar. You can give it a description if you want. Give it a specific time zone. I can share it with others. This will share it with basically everyone or everyone in your organization. Now for you, Chad, if you just want to share it with specific people, you can just put their names down here. Like if I want to share it with Lynn and with Shell or with a specific contact group that you have created, you can do that right there. Okay? And then you can give them specific permissions. If you want them to be able to make changes on the calendar as well, you can do that. Or if you just want them to see all the event details, you can do that. Okay? Then you just create the calendar. That calendar should now fall underneath My Calendars for yourself since you were the one that created it. So it's in purple, but I haven't created anything for that calendar. But now I could go create an event, and notice I can put it on that Special Ed calendar. Does that make sense, Chad? Yeah, Chad, if you made like a contact group of 300 teachers, you could then share that contact group. I imagine you should be able to, just like someone asked if they can add a group. Let's see if I can add well wishes here. It looks like you might not be able to add well wishes. You might not, if you're creating this, you're going to have to put in all the specific people right here. Or you can just share it with everyone in your organization. But it doesn't look like you can share it out with a group. You're going to have to share it out with each person individually. So you're going to have to type in all their names in here, unfortunately. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Kathleen asks, is it possible to distinguish free from busy appointments? Kathleen, it's a hard question to ask. Like, you see Lynn here. Her stuff says free, so, we can see when she's free. She's free in the white, obviously, because she's not booked at those times, so we just have to assume she's free then, and then she's busy when all these different things are booked. Now, what you can do is when you're creating an event, like if you're creating something for yourself, Kathleen, down here at the bottom, if you're creating an event, you can still show yourself as available if you want to. Or if you want to show yourself as busy no matter what, or you can have it automatically decline invitations for you down here at the bottom too. So you can change how it shows you yourself, but you can't really change how it shows other people. So you won't be able to distinguish unless they're doing those changes themselves. Does that make sense? Let me know. Okay. Does anyone else have questions about, adding calendars here, viewing different calendars? Yeah, Kathleen, I'm not too familiar with GroupWise, but let me see here. I'll create an event. And I'll say show me as, available instead of busy and see what it looks like here. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to, actually, I have Brian's email still open. I should probably be able to go into Brian's my calendar. So now I'm logged in as someone else. What I'm going to want to do is look at my calendar here, Mike Barba. So it still shows free busy only. That's because my specific setting has done that. But basically what this means is, I understand it now. So if it shows you as busy here, you're going to have the specific setting that says you're going to have to allow people to see your event details for starters. So I'm going to have to go here to where it says share my calendar. And I'm going to allow people to see all my event details. Okay. So now if I went back to Brian's account, if I refresh this page, I should be able to actually see. Notice now I can see everything instead of just free busy. Now this create event, if I come back to my calendar again, I can probably switch it here. Instead of show me as available, I can say show me as busy. It should instead now say busy over here on Brian's view. Let me refresh it again. No, maybe it doesn't. You know, Kathleen, I'm not even too sure how that show me as feature works, but the different statuses from what I see aren't going to show differently. Everyone, depending on what you allow them to see, is just going to know when you're free or when you're busy based on, the different color and times that you have blocked out. So, right now from Brian's view, I can see that Mike is busy from 3 to 4 and from 4:30 to 5:30, which leaves an opening from 4 to 4:30 that I could try to schedule with him at that time if I wanted to. No problem. Sorry, I kind of got lost myself there on the calendar. Let me go back to my calendar view here. All right. So let's just talk about a few different settings and labs you can enable in calendar, and we're pretty much done. So I'm going to come up here to the settings here again in the top right. Click on that. I'm going to go down to labs. You have labs in your calendar just like you do in your inbox. Now the ones I recommend, event attachments can be useful, but then the two at the bottom are the good ones to use: next meeting and world clock. So you enable those, click save again. Once you do that, you'll have a drop down towards the right of your screen. So I can click on that to expand it. World clock, as you see here, it just gives you clocks from all of the world. I can click on settings though, and you'll see you have a lot of different choices to choose which ones you want to see and not see. You just click on save, and then you can see those clocks from all over the world. Down towards the bottom, I'll see next meeting. It tells me when my next meeting is, 14 minutes, and it tells me what the name of the meeting is and where it's located as well. So it's in showroom. I could click on it. Now I can see who's invited, all the different information about it. So I like next meeting. It's a useful one as well. I can always minimize this as well to hide my lab so I get more real estate on my calendar screen. Okay. All right. Let's lastly just go into your settings now. So I'm coming up to gear here again, going down to settings. Here again, just general settings here. You can set your language, your country. You can set what your time zone is, so you can always change that if you're switching time zones. Your default meeting length. You can set your working hours. You can show weekends or not if you want to. You can also set your location here. So you notice I set my location to Atlanta, and I get weather based on that location. So I have it set to Fahrenheit. Notice I come back here, I have a 4-day forecast on my calendar. So a lot of people like that feature, just to show you how you can do that. Come back into settings here. Now the last thing that's important, automatically adding invitations to your calendar and showing events you decline. Okay? So automatically adding invitations to calendar, if you hover over the question mark, it'll tell you why it, what it does if you say yes or no. So I'll talk about show events you decline. I have it set to yes. Now what that means is, I come back out here to my calendar. Notice here, like from 2 to 3 on Friday, this weekly kickoff, this is an event that I decline, but it still shows up on my calendar. It just has a strike through going through it. Now, a lot of people don't like that. If they decline something, they don't want it on their calendar at all. If you're that type of person, all you have to do is come up to the gear, go down into your settings, go down to where I was at, go to where it says show events you've defined, and set it to no. If you keep it to yes, like I have it, again, anything that you decline is still going to be on your calendar. It's just going to have a strike through going through it. Okay? Anytime you're making changes in here, just be sure to save. And that's pretty much it. That is your calendar. Anyone have any specific questions in relation to the calendar or even to inbox or contacts? Because we're pretty much done. Oh, see, Nicole asked, can you have the next meeting feature above the world clock? So, Nicole, if you have world clock and next meeting enabled, they should be, if those are the only two labs that you have enabled, you should see those two, right next to each other. But I don't think you could move. Let me see if I can move like next meeting specifically. Nope, that just hit it. It doesn't look like you can move it above, unfortunately, because, yeah, I mean, that's a really useful one that I would like at the top. It doesn't look like you can push it up to the top of the screen, though. I can't see a way just to drag and drop it, so it kind of has to stay where it's at. There might be a feature they're looking to, add additionally, but, you can always minimize other ones that you're not using, and as you can see here, next meeting is kind of moving itself up a little bit up the list, but I don't see a way to drag and drop it to the top, unfortunately. I would definitely like to have next meeting up there at the top as well, just so I always see it up here in the top right corner. Any other questions? Mail, contacts, calendar? All right, well, I told you guys at the beginning of training, I'm going to show you where you can go to get additional help. So a few people have jumped off. You guys are going to get a little bonus tree, and I'm going to show you that right now. So the first is the basic one. It's where you can always go to get help. Now, I've showed you the settings gear multiple times, and it's in every different app that you'll ever be in. And I'm in my inbox right now. I have the gear. I can go to help. I go to contacts. I don't even have contacts open. Let me open up contacts. I have contacts. I have the gear here. I can go to help. Okay? If I go to calendar, again, gear, again, help. So I can click on that. It's going to open up a whole new tab for me, and it's the Google Help Center. You have a lot of good information here. You can learn specifically by your app, by Gmail, by calendar, all the different things, by your contacts. You can also click on Get Started to learn different ways on how to get started. Now, unfortunately, we always point out switching from, because there's good articles on switching from Outlook and Notes. Now, there is no switching from GroupWise, unfortunately, but I think that we're in the process of developing a little article for you guys on your behalf. So we may be sending you guys some documentation on that in the near future. But you can always use this search bar up here at the top too, and be able to find some relevant information that you're looking for, and you'll be able to look at it that way too. So that help's definitely useful. And the other great place to go to check out that I have here that I want to show you guys is your guys' online learning center. So if I go back to Brian here, you notice I have this online learning center that we created for you guys. This gives you all the, here it is right here actually, information, life after GroupWise. So I guess we already have a little bit of information here. This is going to tell you a lot of the differences that you had, in GroupWise, or everything that you had in GroupWise and how it's going to be different for you in Gmail, where you're going to find certain things. So definitely come to this online learning center. Check it out. You see here there's lots of different tips and tricks, facts, reference guides, training videos. We're going to upload these training videos that we're doing and put them here on this site so you'll be able to view them at a later time. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy this. Now I'm going to chat this link to the audience for you guys. So you all should have that link now. Send it out to anyone else in your organization that may have questions. And this is definitely a good resource for you guys to check out, okay? And that is pretty much it, guys. That's all we plan to cover today. Again, I appreciate everyone's time. Hopefully you all have a good and better understanding of your, your mail contacting calendar environment. If you don't have any questions, feel free to jump off the call. I'll hang around for the next couple of minutes since we're done a few minutes early. If you have a question, just feel free to send it to me. If not, thanks for your time. Hope you have a good rest of your afternoon. Yep, you're welcome, everyone. Yeah, Kate, like I said, this is recorded, so I'm not sure if we're planning on putting this one up specifically, but yeah, we are going to upload, crap, I deleted the online learning center. But we're going to upload these webinars into your guys' online learning center. So you guys, in a little bit of time, I'm not sure if it's right away, but we're going to upload right here where this is training videos, and you'll be able to see it in here probably over in a little bit of time. No problem. So Patricia asks, when can we access our new email address? Patricia, I'm not too sure. From what I heard, I believed all you guys were live on Gmail as of a few days ago, so you should be able to access your Gmail already. You may need to get with your IT or project management team, because there's usually a temporary password that they set for you that you need to log in. And then once you log in for the first time, then you change your password to, whatever you want your permanent password to be. Yeah, I would check with your IT team, because what the case is they probably have a temporary password for you. So you need to get that from them. And then once you get that, log in for the first time, then you set your actual password that you want to put in. That's really something I can't troubleshoot with you, because I don't have any of the information on what your username and temporary password may be. So definitely send like a request maybe to support team or whoever it is that you send, support tickets to or IT request tickets to, and they should be able to help you out with that. So Beth said the initial password, Patricia, for the Google Guides is it's a capital P, the @ sign. I might be better to chat this for you for starters. Thanks for that information, Beth. So Patricia, let me know if you got that answer I just sent you. No problem, Beth. Thanks for your time too. That looks like the temporary password that you need to use to log in. Capital P, or @ sign, 2 5s, little w, the 0, RD. Doesn't work? Okay, well you need to talk to your IT team to see what issue there is and how they can resolve it. They'll be able to log into the admin control panel and let you know if there's a different password set or if they didn't create you as a user yet in Gmail. So Patricia, someone else mentioned that there is an email from Tim Tanner with the password. So it may not be the password that someone else mentioned, maybe something else specific to you. So see if you have an email, potentially from Tim Tanner. If not, just do what I said and check with your IT team. All right, so let's see. Patricia says, my boss and I already have a calendar that we use with Google. How can we transfer our current calendar into our new addresses? Patricia, that's a good question. Now, I would get with your IT team again to ask them to particularly migrate that calendar into your new calendar so you don't have to worry about creating, stuff on the old calendar. Now, you can I can come always here. Now, you could add that other calendar's email address here, whatever it is, just add it in the search box and then click to send a request to that calendar's email address. And then once you click accept, you'll be able to view that calendar from here. But like I said, you're not going to want to have to work in 2 different calendars. You're going to want to just move all that information into the new calendar and just use the new one going forward. So check with your IT team and see if they can migrate that calendar for you. Okay? But if you use a personal calendar, a lot of people ask this and they want to view their personal calendar from their work calendar. You can simply do that. Just add, I add my personal calendar right here. This is my personal Gmail here. I click on that. It's going to send a request to that personal email. So it's sending a personal request to myself. I then just accept that, and I'll be able to view my personal calendar from my work calendar. Okay? So that's how that works. Yep, thanks for your time, too. All right, everyone, I'm going to close the webinar off now. Again, I appreciate everyone's time. Hope you enjoy the rest of your afternoon.